I'm living it, and I'm making more money, and I'm selling more cars.
I'm just curious. So since you're a real forward-thinking guy, what are your thoughts on, these big conglomerates that are buying everybody up?
I think there's going to be a lot of dealers that do get sucked up into that, but there's a lot of the times, and not every time, because there's been some really good automotive groups. I don't think I'd buy a car from them. Like sitting at a car dealership for 4 hours and just like not know what's going on the whole time and hope that the numbers that they wrote on a piece of paper are right.
That's a fair point. Ultimately be good things for user experience.
Ford, before we opened the store, they gave me a stat I'll never forget. They surveyed 4,008 people. How many prefer the way the automotive business currently does a deal? Any guesses?
1%.
Would you buy a car from you?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today's guest is JB Burnett. He is the general manager at Preston Automotive Group, overseeing a Ford dealership rooftop across Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai, and CDJR. JB, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
How long you been a GM for?
So funny story, I actually got in the car business when I was 20. I started selling cars real quick, got into finance, got in the box in about 6 months, and then had an opportunity when I was 23 to take over a Hyundai dealership in the Baltimore metro area. I went in from the finance office to a general manager role. I had no idea what I was doing. It was a 7-day store. I worked harder than everybody to try to figure it out. And 5 years later, after running that store pretty successfully, I had an opportunity to expand and came to the Preston Automotive Group. Been here now 11 years. Started with a single used car point. We developed a CDJR open point. We then opened a Hyundai open point, and now the brand new first in the world 2.0 signature Ford store and a Lincoln vitrine.
Wow. So you took over at 23. They gave you the GM role. Was the store in rough shape when you took it over? They were just like, sure, man, go for it.
It was a very odd scenario where I was my general manager that I previously worked with had gone to this automotive group, and the general manager at that store, I guess, was having some problems, and he got me an interview with the owner, and we sat there that same day, and he hired me. And I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but going from a finance gig to a GM gig at 23, I thought I was on top of the world.
Yeah, hell yeah, you did. Hopefully you got paid like a real GM too,
The funny thing was I really didn't for a long time. And I didn't know any better because it was so much more money I was making in finance. I thought I was really killing it. And then, then you start getting perspective and figuring out, what's out there and what the world really looks like. And then you find out.
Yeah. So, and that was how many years ago?
So I am 39, 16 years ago, I took over my first store.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty cool, man. So obviously you like it. And I'll tell you another rare thing is you've been at the same dealer group for 11 years. That's got to say something to the people who run that place, like the company as a whole, huh?
For sure. They're a great group, family owned, operated. The dad was the founder. The son is now the president of the company. Okay. He's about my age, so it's really cool because he's forward thinking. He's open to stuff. It's not like you're working for somebody that's maybe in a different generational gap,
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are kind of online with what needs to happen, kind of the technology progress changes, I suppose, which there's a lot of car dealers that still live in the dinosaur ages, but I would say for the most part, automotive industry is doing all right. When it comes to adapting new technologies. Are you guys doing anything, speaking of new technologies, and it's on everyone's forefront, every conversation, what are you guys doing with AI right now? Anything?
So we're integrating a couple tools. I was a pretty early adopter myself. I started playing with Numa in my service department at the CDJR store, and that helped catching the calls that got missed and that kind of stuff. And then advancing from there into, the world today of all the options, and AI is obviously the buzzword at the moment, but some are a lot more than just large language models, and some are really figuring out how to have full conversations and how to interact. And I think we're seeing, I'm going to NADA here, a week and a half or so from now, And that's one of the big things I think we're all looking at is what kind of tools are out there. So I haven't installed a whole heck of a lot more now because I really want to see what's in the market. But the Ford store, I mean, the process on the technology side that we're doing there is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Like what? What are you guys doing that's crazy?
So my Ford signature store, again, first one to open in the world in Millsboro, Delaware. We opened in November, and from there, the process has been completely different. There's no computers or phones like in the showroom area. It's all, there's a workroom in the back, but everything's run off tablets. And so we use a program called AutoFi that really takes like the digital retailing experience, combines it with like the showroom experience. So you can do sort of as much or as little as you want at home or in the dealership. So we're finding sort of the new generation of what people thought omnichannel was going to look like. And it's working outrageously well. Guests love it. The showroom itself is like a bunch of like comfortable seating areas and stuff, and like high top bars and a nice little concierge area with snacks and beverages and that kind of thing. So it's more like a hospitality sales anywhere kind of vibe. It is not a dealership when you walk inside.
That sounds kind of nice, honestly. So so everything's ran from tablets. So you go, sales all the way to the finance. Is finance done out there on the couch on the tablet?
Finance is the only part that we're still tied to the CDK printer on. And so, but that once we get there, there's that couple of docs that we need to get real signatures on. But I mean, we're still e-contracting what we can. It's a very fast experience because the sales process is a little bit different. So we've done a ton of deals in under an hour. And I mean, honestly, we're closed on Sundays. I've sold plenty of cars on Sundays. It's a weird vibe because somebody will come in on a Saturday and they'll go through like a lot of the process and then they'll leave and we'll send them the AutoFi because they can play with their own numbers. They can adjust their own down payment. They can adjust their own term. They can submit themselves through Route 1 and get back in automatic approval. And so like they're in the driver's seat or really feel like they are. And so on Sunday, we'll get a notification, hey, this person submitted itself. And then Monday morning, the guest comes in and we have a car deal. And I didn't even have to follow up yet.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So it's a step in the right direction towards like a true like online car buying experience, essentially. Is that how you kind of sum it up?
So I'm in my Hyundai store. I'm also part of like the Amazon pilot program too, right?
Okay.
So I see.
I'm so excited to talk to you now about that. I'm really curious. I haven't talked to any dealers about that yet. Okay, man, we got lots to talk about. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So I've seen how that program has launched and run, and I've seen the effectiveness of it. At the time being, I haven't had a whole lot of effect because I still think that we're not at the age that people want to do the entire thing online, but they want to do as much as they can without having to interact with us until they absolutely need to. But then they still want to come in. They want to meet somebody they can trust. They want to drive a car. They want to touch, feel, and smell it. And that part of the validation of the whole transaction, I think, is what makes it so clean.
Yeah. No, definitely. I don't see that going away. I think when you're spending that kind of money, you want to test drive it. You want to put your hands on it for most people. Some people don't care, but I say most people probably still would. So tell me this though about the Amazon. Are people actually initiating the car buying process off Amazon? Like how many sales have you done as a result of that?
Be honest with you, I can't attribute a single sale. And we've been on the program for about 4 months. And so, and that's sort of the proof is in the pudding kind of difference between the AutoFi process at the Ford store and the Amazon process at the Hyundai store is I think the digital retailing, they want to do a lot of it and they want to be able to play with their own payments and they want to know like what their payment's going to be without any hidden agenda, but they still want to come in and experience it.
Yeah, fair. So no sales due to Amazon. Yeah, it was interesting because I was playing around with that feature. I noticed, Hyundai, and I think maybe they rolled out one other brand now, but I was like, you can go on there, you can add products. I was like, how's that work when you add products, to a finance deal? But I think it's just kind of like you're requesting information sort of thing, or you have to upload certain prices or something like that.
It
I
all
was
runs
curious.
through. It's all partnered with Hyundai, and so they pull the Hyundai Protection Plan product pricing, and so no,
Oh, okay.
you can do the whole thing.
You can. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I wonder if that's going to change. Well, maybe it'll change once you get, overnight, prime prime delivery. Maybe that'll change with it.
Yeah, they still require you to come in the dealership, but it's funny because Amazon really tries to press upon you, like, don't try to don't try to keep selling them stuff. Don't try to bump them. Don't try to like let them have the experience that they thought they were going to have by just coming in, picking up keys, and maybe signing a couple wet docs.
Mm-hmm.
But I have yet to have the opportunity to see that in motion. Whereas in my Ford store, we've had a huge shift to like remote deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a CDGR store right next to a Ford store. My CDGR store probably does 5% remote deliveries. My Ford store is doing 50% remote deliveries.
Right.
And a lot of that's coming from the ease of doing business and the transparency, but still being able to talk to a human and go through the process and explain and ask questions.
So if 50% of your deliveries, are remote, I guess, has that affect your guys's, F&I numbers at all? And positively, negatively, no change at all?
So far, since we've been on the program, about 4 months, since we've been moved in and gotten everything situated,
Mm-hmm.
every number that I can measure has gone up.
Hmm.
Back end profitability, PVR has gone up. Penetration on products, even like ancillary products, because in the Autify system, you're able to like pick if you want to add ceramic, or like we have this Preston for Life program. I just started adding Gap in there because that's one of those things that I think a lot of guests like want to know their payment with Gap. They
Mm-hmm.
talk about that. So I just added that actually the beginning of this month. So after I have some data on that behind it, I'll roll that out. But so far, front end gross is up, back end gross is up, and penetration on every product is up.
Wow. Well, that's good to hear. Easy, everything's easier, and we're making more money. I love that. That's awesome. So that kind of brings me to one point, because like I hear a lot of people say, they don't like dealing with the car dealerships because they don't like the back and forth of over the price. So have you guys kind of moved to more of like the online price is the price sort of thing with the Ford store?
That's almost exactly the model. And we're aggressive online.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, you really don't have to fight that a whole lot. But I think the difference is what you're seeing is because we make it so easy and it's so transparent and it's so clean. People
Yeah.
just don't try to fight.
Yeah. Man. And I think people are fighting for that because they didn't want to deal with that, but ultimately they're going to end up paying more.
Hmm.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely true.
Because like I wish I could go to Apple and negotiate my iPhone and my MacBook, because damn well they're making money hand over fist on every sale, you know. And it's like people are fighting for this, and I get it, and at the same time I'm like, dude, like the art of the deal, you know what I'm saying? Like negotiate, but people don't like to do that anymore. They don't really like to negotiate. They don't like to ask. They don't like to objection handle on either side. A lot of salespeople I've noticed turn more into order takers than anything. Like, oh, you don't want to buy? Okay, no problem. you know,
I don't
have
think
you?
you're wrong. I think the art of the deal is sort of dying, but I think the consumer, you and I might be different than most. Like I go negotiate milk if I could,
Yeah.
but the average consumer, I don't think is comfortable in the uncomfortability that has. And so, meeting a guest where they're at has sort of been my slogan for this transition and this transformation in automotive. Is like
Mm-hmm.
I stood up in a room of dealers at a Ford guest experience event like 3 or 4 years ago. And they were just starting these conversations of like, how do we treat people better? How do we make it better? How do we deal with the Gen Z or the millennials that want this or that or whatever? And I stood up and I was like, you know what? Honestly, guys, I don't think I'd buy a car from me. Like sitting at a
Mm.
car dealership for 4 hours and just like not know what's going on the whole time and hope that the numbers that they wrote on a piece of paper are right. As dealers, like we have a luxury, right? We walk in, we want to buy a car. I structure my deal. I tell my finance manager, hey, I want to buy this car, print the paperwork for me. I go about my day. They hit me like 2 hours later and they're like, hey, paperwork's done. I fly in, sign a couple of docs, and I'm out. And I'm like, that was the best experience ever. That is
Yeah.
not what our guests get.
That's a fair point. Super fair point. There's a lot of back and forth, huh? A lot of back and forth. I mean, I think it's going to ultimately be good things for user experience, and great things for dealer revenue. So, I love that. That was an interesting thing. That probably took a lot of balls to stand up in front of a room full of other dealers and say you wouldn't buy a car from yourself. What was everybody's reaction when you said that?
I think at first it was surprise because it was like, how would you even say that about yourself? But then I framed it and I said, if you guys just stop and think for a second, would you buy a car from you? And I think that really got a lot of people thinking because, again, in our heads, we think we have the best process in the world. We've been doing the same thing for 50 years and it works. Mm-hmm. But if you really step into like the guest experience side, they're buying cars because they have to most of the time, not because they want to. Ford, before we opened the store, they gave me a stat I'll never forget. They surveyed 4,008 people and said, hey, out of you 4,008, how many prefer the way the automotive business currently does a deal? Any guesses?
1%.
11 people.
Well, that might be a question set up for failure, but yeah, that is crazy. I agree with that. You always have to whenever you go to a dealership, growing up, before I was in this business, it was always you don't want to go to a dealership alone. You go alone, you're gonna get cornered, arm wrestled. They're gonna pin you down and take you for everything you got. That's like the vibe that car dealerships are all about, or at least perceived, right? So. Yeah, no, I think there's definitely room for change, but I will tell you that I work with a lot of other industries, and when I'm talking to them about systems and processes and profitability, I always refer back to the automotive industry, and I'm like, these guys have been doing it for 50 years or more. Like they've got systems and processes down that work and make money, and I don't know what you guys are doing over here. Like you look at, power sports or trailers or boats even, and they don't have any systems. They're just kind of like flying by the seat of their pants. But a true automotive dealership does normally have pretty good systems in place.
It's funny you say that.
Go ahead.
I had an employee that left me to get into boats, and it was a finance manager, and it was all about the hours. They wanted better hours than in life and that. And I remember talking to her not long after, and she's like, "Dude, the boat industry is like 20 years behind us."
Yeah. They're just discovering. So if we offer lending, we can also finance products, like not to, talk too much crap about my boat dealer friends. They're not that bad, but just the sophistication and systems and processes, like, yes, to your point, at least 20 years behind. And power sports, maybe further than that, not that they're doing anything wrong, but we're in business, right? And so there's a certain level of professionalism and systemization and, revenue to the bottom line tracking that I think we can take notes of from the automotive industry.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So you said as a leader, how about this? As a leader, how do you deal with, emotion and your team's emotions without, letting it hurt your performance?
So this was a big test on the Ford store because, again, not having like a blueprint, there was a lot of uncertainty. Nobody, including myself, I mean, we really didn't know what to expect. You're taking away computers from salespeople. You're taking away phones from salespeople. You're moving to a completely digital sales process. There was a lot of trepidation in that part of the process. But I think the biggest thing for me is I leaned in really hard and I learned all the systems and I sat in all the meetings with Ford. I understood what they were trying to accomplish with the new facility and the new hospitality and sales anywhere kind of concepts. And because I could believe in it, because I would buy a car from my Ford store right now,
Yeah.
I was able to really lead that charge and lead by example and keep morale up and keep the emotion steady and make sure that everybody knew like, hey, if I believe it, I'm going to have your back on this thing the whole way. So we're going to figure it out together.
So did you have any, I mean, it sounds like you had some resistance to change, obviously. Did you have anybody you had to, that just couldn't roll with the new 2025, 2026 dealership model that had to find something else to do?
It's funny you say that. They come ahead of time and we do a training session before the store ever opens. And that's when they sit with everybody. They like explain, hey, this is what we got. This is what we're going to do. And at that time, I was pretty concerned about two individuals that I had. And I was like, this probably isn't going to work. And so we went into it with an open mind and like gave everybody the same kind of support. I did not lose a single associate through that transition. And I have only I've picked up 4 or 5 more. But the difference is now, because it is more of a hospitality experience than it is a negotiation experience, I'm looking for people with like high-end restaurant experience. I'm looking for people with like high-end hotel experience now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm still thinking about this dealership in my mind. I'm like, man, you walk in, there's a bar, there's nice couches, it's luxurious. They come greet you, Mr. Auto, you ready to buy a truck today? Like that's how I'm imagining this, and it sounds really nice. It sounds like a good change, Like
when you walk in the door, it's Mr. Auto. Can I get you a beverage or can I get you a snack? And where would you like to sit? We have these areas available. We can sit right up here at the bar top. We can sit where would you like to sit? And then you start driving from the minute you walk in the door.
How do you mean when you start? Like we're doing test drives, or I'm telling you what I want to do?
You're telling me what you want to do. You're driving the experience from the moment you walk in. So I'm customizing it to you at that point. The only real trigger that is a big change in the process is very early. I'm asking for your trade. So I can go ahead and get that to the manager, let them do that behind the scenes. Because then after your demo, after your test drive, after your process, and you sit back down, on AutoFi, you have all of your numbers, your trade, your everything. So the minute you're done driving, you have numbers. You change your down payment. There's no running up to the desk and being like, hey, what's it with $5,000 down? Oh, wait, they want to see 84 months. And you're waiting for, 3 guys ahead of you. Okay, well, I got to submit your deal. I got 3 ahead of you. It's going to be 30 minutes before I even submit it. These guys are over here filling out their own applications. The guests are. And submitting it. And as long as it fits in my little parameters for LTV, PTI, and credit score, they're getting the response back from a lender in 90 seconds using AI based off their credit profile.
Wow. That's nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, the guest experience. And I like how you call them guests, not customers. We're changing it to guests while you enjoy your stay here at our dealership.
I think verbiage is a big thing, man. We don't use appointments anymore. We use reservations. You have appointments at your dentist, man. You have a reservation at that nice restaurant you love going to twice a year. You're a guest at a hotel. You're not a customer at a hotel. It just makes you feel different. It's like a really elevated verbiage that then makes the guests feel better. I mean, when you're saying, when you're talking about the person, hey, I have a guest over here, or hey, your reservation's at 8:00 tomorrow morning. Is that work? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Are there pictures of your dealership online? Can people look at it? What's it?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely on our Facebook page, Boulevard Ford. That's probably the closest place to find it. We have all kinds of.
No, that's not it. Where? Well, it was in
Millsboro, Delaware.
Delaware. Boulevard Ford, Millsboro, Delaware. It looks like a normal dealership on the outside, but maybe this is old pictures. It's probably old pictures. Oh yeah, I see some new pictures of the new store. That's cool.
It's a really, really good.
Yeah. So are you guys? So Ford is the only brand that's kind of rolling out this technology.
Yeah, they're the only ones I've seen this forward thinking, and again, I was part of a global pilot program with like 30 dealers. I was the first one that was finished construction out of anybody. Since then, there's been a couple more open. There's one more in the United States. There's one in South America. There's one in Africa. And there's one in the EU. So I mean, there's a lot of dealers that are now raising their hand because it is such a nice facility. But it really does come down to the process. Like, you got to buy into, I'm going to do things differently than I've been doing it for the last 50 years.
And that's the hard part right there. But I guess to your point, you have second generation taking over, so the guy's a little bit closer in age. He gets it. He can see millennial and Gen Z and everything that's kind of changing, and heading in that direction. So I think that's really, really, really cool and very forward thinking. I love that. So do you think the traditional dealership model is eventually going to go away?
I think we're a long way from go away, but I think we're closer to the early adopters really leaning in. I'm speaking at NADA literally about this topic because I've been definitely on the forefront of the transformation part of this, and now I'm probably the only person saying it and living it. There's a lot of dealers that say, "Hey, we got to change things. We got to do things differently," but they're not quite living it. I'm living it, and I'm making more money, and I'm selling more cars, and I'm having better net NPS. Like, I don't know why any good operator over a period of time would not stop and say, you know what, maybe that does make sense.
Well, I think it does. That's cool that you're talking about it. NADA. I'm just curious. So since you're a real forward thinking guy and you're seeing the next generation of the dealership model, what are your thoughts on, these big conglomerates that are buying everybody up, the AutoNations, the Lithias of the world? Do you think the family owned dealership is going away in the next 10 years and we're just going to be buying from, the automotive equivalent of, Walmart, Target, and so on and so forth? Or what are your thoughts?
I think there's going to be a lot of dealers that do get sucked up into that, but there's a lot of the times, and not every time, because there's been some really good automotive groups that have sold to some Lithias or some big groups. But a lot of the times, it's usually the underperforming stores or the stores without a really good succession plan. So those probably will end up not making it. But you'll have groups like ourselves who are continuously evolving, having succession plan, understand how this looks in the next 50 years and where we want to go with whatever technology happens. So I don't think, because again, on the large side, it is hard to scale the model that I'm explaining to thousands of dealerships at the exact same time.
Yeah.
It's really, I started it at my Ford and Lincoln store. I waited 6 or 3 months, and I just committed to installing it in my Hyundai store and my CDJR store. So I am going to be mimicking what Ford has created, all the way down to the comfy spaces. And so in my CDJR store, and I haven't unveiled this completely yet, so you'll be one of the first to hear. But once we make the transition with the technology with AutoFi, I think I'm just going to rip out all the desks and put some comfy seating, and I'm going to take away the computers because they don't need them. Everybody's going to work off iPads, and I guarantee I'm going to see the exact same lift in profitability and guest experience when I do that. And it would be the first. I don't know of another CDJR store that's designed that way in the world.
You're the first guy I've talked to. I've done a lot of these podcasts that's even mentioned any of this stuff. So it's quite interesting. I'm actually pretty excited about it. You got me pumped up about it. I'm in the market. Well, not in the market, but I'm thinking about getting a new car. And now I'm thinking about, this dealership experience that you're talking about. I was like, this sounds nice. Maybe I need to go to Delaware, go get one.
I mean, honestly, man, you don't even need to. I know what you want to buy. I shoot you an AutoFi. You work your own structure, and I got a shipping company to drop it off at your house.
All right, guys, we can buy a car right now. Easy as that. I mean, when you make it sound so easy, it's almost scary. You're like, you're going to get people just buying stuff, staying up late. Just shopping on Amazon. Next thing you know, you're buying a Hyundai or you're on AutoFi. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm I'm really curious to see how a lot of these other dealerships are going to pan out because selling out to these big conglomerates, I think it's a matter of time until they have. I don't know. I'm just as a country as a whole, there's so much private equity money that's going into every industry and just taking over, and it just kind of makes me worry, like what the direction is of the entire nation. Is there just going to be a point where it's like we're buying from like 4 or 5 stores? Like, is that where capitalism is too extreme? Or there's just never ending conglomerations? Because Amazon's going to own everything. Elon Musk is going to own everything. BlackRock, they already own everything. So I feel like Warren Buffett, he owns, I don't know if you know this, you're going to Vegas for NADA. He owns the electric company that serves all of Las Vegas. you know?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a weird random fact. And that's actually where I'm from. I'm from Las Vegas. But I now live somewhere else. I live down here in Florida. Love it. But I don't know, man. What do you think about private equity taking over the world? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you have a super valid concern and thought because we've watched it in a lot of industries. I mean, when you talk about big box stores that really have gone away, but I think the difference is how they adapt to the consumer going forward. I think you'll find that you'll have a lot of those bigger companies that are going to invest in staying ahead because of the amount of money that they have. But
yeah,
there, a lot of the communities really are supported by the smaller dealer groups. I mean, I say smaller dealer group, we're 20 stores.
Yeah, that's not so small.
Yeah, I mean, your 1-2 store shops, they're probably going to get offers so big that they can't say no. But your larger, again, Coons was a weird, random exception to that rule. But with Asbury, but I think that majority of the larger automotive groups are going to stick around. I mean, for the foreseeable future, and I say larger, anything probably over 10 stores. That's a pretty large automotive group.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think there's still plenty of time? We got some years before we're at that point, unless something crazy happens, like the manufacturers selling direct to consumer.
And it's funny because, Ford started that little rumor mill a few years ago, right? And then next thing you know, we just invest in this $12 million building and it's the future of their design. And so they're seeing, okay, we can't do it without you, but we want you to do it differently than you're doing it. I think that was the biggest thing. Some of the traditional, and that's the other thing about a smaller group, and I say smaller, like not a Lithia or Asbury or something, is that they're a lot more nimble. And so I can shift a lot more on the market or a lot more on a transparency concept like this. I can shift a lot faster than they can shift 1,000 stores.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true. Yeah. So when you're implementing, these new systems and processes and stuff like that, and you have some guys who've been there, like some managers who've been there a long time, like it sounds like you're kind of more like a platform GM. You're overseeing a few different stores, locations. So you have, store managers in between. How do you train all these people in on your new systems and processes? Like, do you have a methodology to how you train new people? Because I feel like, number one, to be a big, 20 rooftop dealer group, there has to be some congruency throughout the company as a whole. So what's your training process with managers and new hires, all that stuff?
So fortunately for me, I do have an assistant general manager who handles a lot more of like the frontline day-to-day stuff. So he's able to cascade that vision, from me down a little bit more effectively than I am. But then on top of that, like, a big part of it is if you have the respect of your people and you lead them consistently and you're directing them consistently and you're owning mistakes and you're taking that and they trust you as a leader, then it really doesn't become more than teaching them one time, this is how we do it. Shadowing with them, spending time with them. And I'll do a lot of that at the beginning, especially with managers, sitting with them, working deals with them, because I'm like, hey, yeah, I know that's how you used to do it, but hey, this is how we do it here. And this is why. And you can look to your right or left and see people that have been doing this with me for a decade. And there's a reason it works. And then even like with the Ford store, that came 100% from full buy-in from the top. I mean, my sales manager there, I was quite concerned that he wasn't going to be okay with the shift. And
Yeah.
then I think 2 weeks in, because the job became different. 2 weeks in, he came to me. He said, "Man, I don't know what to do with my hands sometimes." So he started training more. He started paying closer attention to like used cars. He started getting like really early involved in deals. Like people would show in the front door, he'd just up them and then because he wasn't sitting behind a computer doing data entry of a Route 1 application. He
Yeah,
was
that's a great
he was
point.
able to he was able to maximize his time differently. And so like it's changed so many aspects of our business in that store. And again, they're all right next to each other on the same little strip. And so I have two stores operating one way and two stores operating with four squares and Sharpies. So, I mean, both sides of the spectrum.
Huh. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds so primitive now, right? Four squares and Sharpies versus this complete online buying experience, frees up time and maybe definitely going to change some jobs in the industry. People are going to have more free time, to your point, which we might need less of them or not at all. I don't know. But I think ultimately, whenever innovation does bring good things for the most part, it's how we
Yeah.
adapt.
On that, I would tell you that it makes people more efficient. I don't know. A lot of times, like, they say, sales manager for every 50 deals or 40 deals or whatever the case may be. I have two sales managers doing 127 last month. And they're doing it without freaking out. Because a lot of those, so if a store's already maybe overstaffed, you could either repurpose or may not need as many managers because there's not so much admin stuff to do. No, not so much of the data entry stuff. It's much more of what they were hired to do, which is train people, take care of guests, get involved in deals. When we hire a sales manager, we don't say, hey, you're going to spend 40% of your life punching in deals to Route 1. But that's what they do.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun. But yeah, that is what they do. Yeah, you're right. Huh. So are you guys, in growth mode as a company, sounds like?
Yeah, actually, we just picked up a Toyota franchise from Asbury, as a matter of fact, last month.
We got one
And
back
so,
from the big conglomerate to mini. We'll call you guys juniors. I don't know. It's still the family owned.
and that's great to your point,
Yeah.
because we talked about those, that conversation. We did literally just buy Toyota from them because,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, they didn't have interest because it was too far outside of their subset of market. We're out here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland and Virginia and Delaware. And they're more, I think to go back to what you said, I think you'll find that more in like the metro areas, you're going to find more of that conglomeration. In the the more rural areas, I don't think you'll have it.
I get that. It's hard to manage. People are different from the metro areas to the rural areas,
Yeah.
Just a bit more laid back. I don't know. Good or bad. They are different kind of people. Just kind of thinking about it. Your city people. So where do you kind of see, yourself going with this company? You're 39. Are you going to stay in the automotive industry? Sounds like you are.
Yeah, I don't plan on going anywhere, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, growing what we're growing here on the campus that I have, I mean, there's potential for additional growth here, and then really riding this whole like, what if I can help shift and change how dealers look at automotive by showing them how it works. If I can master this whole process and this experience, and I can prove with results of volume, gross, NPS, all the metrics that a lot of us look at to measure the success of a store, and I can guide other people to say, hey, it's okay to take the leap and do something a little different. I mean, that would be enough for me to put a feather in my cap.
Yeah. I think you could definitely make some positive impacts here. And you're speaking on this, which sounds like you're really, really deep involved in the automotive industry. If you're speaking at NADA, you definitely give a shit. You know what I mean? So, which is nice, because I meet a lot of people in the industry who they're there because they need to be there. You know what I mean? But it sounds like you want to be there. So, do you have any advice? Then let's shift. Let's talk about used cars for a minute. Let's talk about used cars. You have any advice to our used car brothers out there who are, they don't have the factory support to be able to do what you guys are doing and create this type of experience? What can you tell them?
The one thing I can't help anybody on, and I think we're all in the same boat, is vehicle acquisition is going to be hard. It's gonna continue to be hard. But the other side of selling it, really, and I just had this conversation with my used car director on Monday. You can snipe selling used cars if you really pay attention to the metrics that sell, which is your SRPs, your VDPs, your lead count, your showroom traffic, and then what converts. You can find a lead, any given lead on any given car, and it'll tell you a story of what's going on with that vehicle. If your SRPs aren't there, then where's your pricing? If your VDPs aren't there, what's your pictures look like? If your leads aren't there, what's your pick? Is there a stain on the seat on the fifth picture? If your showroom traffic isn't converting, what does that car smell like, look like? Does it smell like smoke? What is turning people? Does it need one tire? And everybody keeps walking around the driver tire, and everybody's saying the same thing, and we just haven't done anything about it. But you can literally go through and snipe where you're going to find a buyer for almost any used car, and then watch it. Like, when you adjust prices, the next thing you know, your SRPs go through the roof. Okay, you found your market. Slow down. Now your VDPs are going up. All right, cool. You don't have to change your price every 7 days if you're getting the SRPs and the VDPs and the leads are coming in. How's your lead handling going? Is it your salespeople? Are you seeing that this one guy got 4 leads on this one car, but he knows it's got a ding in the back bumper, and so he's switching somebody that's a different car every time. You can really, if you really dig in, there's some great analytics.
You're just like blowing my mind thinking about all the things that, like, I could tell you really, really know what you're talking about with cars, just how to sell them at the very least. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, yeah, these are all really, really great points. Any reason why someone wouldn't buy a car is kind of going down the checklist of why wouldn't they buy this car? And I think you hit quite a bit of them. And
I have a different kind of process that I put in place with my used car managers. I have them check cars at intervals. So I have them check them when they come out of recon, check them 20 days later, 20 days later, and 20 days later. From there, yeah, what happened? So, like, how many times we had a car gets hit on the lot? How many times that somebody showed the car, rolled the window down, the FTC sticker got all janky, and the floorboard paper is covered in mud and trash and ripped up, or somebody took the sticker out, threw it on the front seat. Like, whatever it is, go touch them and make sure they're as good as they were the first time you touched them.
So this, what this brings me, because this is trouble I've had in my own business, just thinking about this. Those are all really, really good things that you need to be doing. And those are all very, like, intuitive things, like intuition. Like, okay, I need to sell this car. What are all the things I need to do to sell this car? How do you find people who have that intuition to do these things. You know what I mean? Like I just call it being like a lot of people just kind of sleep at the wheel, you know, like they show up to work, they're there, but they're not there, you know? So how do you find people like that?
Talent acquisition is absolutely the hardest thing, man. And I mean, one of it is how you're leading them and how you're holding them accountable to stuff, right? So I think not anybody, but somebody that actually does have a brain that wants to do decent. I think you can guide those people down the right path and you can help them create habits. A lot of people don't know how to create habits. And so teaching them how to create habits, riding them a little bit, having some maybe not easy conversations to get them down those paths, but knowing that it's coming from a place of, I just want you to be successful. But you have to know what you got. You gotta hire slow. You gotta fire fast. You can't, you really, when you're interviewing somebody, the goal of an interview is to find a way to eliminate the candidate. I mean, you should be walking into it like, how do I not hire you? And if you don't give me a reason not to hire you, then you're probably onto something pretty special. And then from there, that's somebody you can really grow with. But, you know, sometimes we go into the interview selling ourselves because we need the salesperson so bad, or we need the manager so bad. So we're so focused on I don't want the person. That's the person that ends up asleep at the wheel. Mm-hmm. The people that were so good and so dialed in, and then you give them guardrails and accountability and show them the path. Like my used car manager never thought to go touch a car every X amount of days, or he barely understood what an SRP VDP conversion rate was. And so teaching those things, and then, okay, so every day you go into VinQ, our inventory management software, you go into VinQ, any car that's 20 days old, which is only going to be across the whole campus, 5 that is 20 on day 20. And then you go touch those 5 cars. And so it's not like I'm asking you to go touch 60 cars in a day. It's phenomenal. So in your daily routine, I don't care when you do it. If you want to build it at 10 o'clock every morning, I'm hopping in, I'm finding my 5 20-day-old cars, my 5 60-day-old cars, and my 5 40-day-old cars. And so I'm looking at 15 cars a day as a used car manager. And I'm going to tell you, almost every time you get to a 60-day car, there's something wrong with it.
That's know your inventory. That's what that is. Know your inventory. Makes sense. So how do you hold people accountable? You know, you give them the instructions, you tell them what to do. How do you hold people accountable?
So I have a little methodology behind how I have some of those conversations. So like, you tell somebody to do something when they're hired, right? And eventually at some point it doesn't happen, right? Whether it's soon, whether it's late, whatever. Yeah. And so that first conversation for me is always my responsibility. Like, hey, you know, I told you to check on the cars every 20, 40, and 60-day mark, right? You're not doing it, man. I apologize if I wasn't clear enough to explain to you how important that was. This is why we do it that way, because it does this, allows us to do this. We catch stuff like this. So wouldn't you agree that all that's really important? Yeah. So with that, again, now that you know how important it is, there shouldn't be any reason why it's not done, right? No. So we're good. We're good doing that in the future. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. 2 weeks later, stops doing it again, right? Because that's what happens. And so then the conversation's a lot different. And so then it's, hey, man, remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about how important it was and you agreed with me and you were like, hey, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And you committed to me that you were going to do that. So back then we had one problem. You weren't doing what I asked you to do. Now we have 2 problems. Now we have the fact you're not doing what I asked you to do. But secondly, you're not holding your word to me now. And if we don't have the trust and relationship of your word to me, then really what's the foundational balance of our relationship? What does this look like going forward? How can I assign you anything that I don't believe that you're going to do? And that makes people frame way differently. I usually don't have to go past that second conversation. That second conversation locks it in. They're like, holy crap, I understand. That's mess.
Yeah.
Damn, that's my word. It frames it like that. And then, I mean, if you got more problems past that, man, you got the wrong person.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything past that second conversation. That was a good, very good demonstration, I guess, of what you do. I love that. I always like learning from different perspectives, because everybody manages a little bit different. They have different little quirks and kinks, but you seem like a well-rounded dude. I like it. Well-rounded.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So if there's another general manager out there listening right now who feels stuck inside broken systems, what's the first step you'd tell them to take?
So I think one of the biggest things is making sure you're experiencing your system from what an outside perspective would be. A lot of the times people can't see the forest through the trees, and I understand that completely. Fortunately, I'm in a position now that I have sort of a higher level outlook on everything with the layers that I have. So I'm able to take myself out of the weeds to per se and really start to diagnose problems before they become real problems. And so that I think is a big thing. Pull yourself out, look at it from an exterior set of eyes, and figure out what you have foundationally in your process and your experience. And then from there, don't be scared to break it. You have to break things to fix it. And so, I mean, you might have something and I actually posted this on LinkedIn the other day, but the worst thing you could ever say is that's how we've always done it. That is the sign that you are stagnant. And so from there, like, if that's how you always done it, find a different way to do it. Or maybe there is a better way. Maybe there's not. Have fresh eye conversations with people. If you hire somebody from outside, different industries, whatever the case may be, go to them after like 2 weeks and be like, hey, what do we do here that you really like? Okay, cool. What do we do here that you're like, why do we do that? And that'll point you to all kinds of pictures of like, somebody that came from maybe a well-run organization. It doesn't have to be automotive, but they're like, well, I was actually trying to figure out why we just kept the tags at the tower and we didn't put those like in the key machine where everybody could get them.
Yeah. 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 I heard something along those lines where it's like, if you want to audit your systems, just start asking yourself, like you said, why do we do this? And if you can't come up with a good reason why you do that, probably could take a look at changing that or eliminating it.
Absolutely.
What if you're a general manager out there and you want to make changes, things are broken, but you're a general manager in title, but the owner has the final say and you are seeing differently than what the owner's seeing. Have you ran into that situation before?
I have run into the situation before. A lot of it from that perspective is that they don't understand maybe what you understand. And so instead of maybe walking into that conversation as an authoritative, this is what I want to do, it's hey, this is what I've seen. This is what I've observed. This is a couple different options of how I was thinking of fixing it, and involve them in that decision-making process. Hey, so obviously what I've seen, you don't like that, right? No, that sounds terrible. It's killing CSI. It's doing that, whatever it is. Okay, great. So I was thinking if we did this, we could maybe do this way. We could do this. We do it this way. What are your thoughts? And so feed up some options, not problems. Feed up some solutions. I always tell people when I hire them, I don't do drama and I don't do problems. I do opportunities for solutions. And so don't come to me saying the parking lot's screwed up and there's nowhere to park for customers. Come to me and say, hey, there's 6 cars out front that we could probably clear up like 6 additional parking spots, and we could take those 6 cars and we could put them right over there on the back. And like, okay, now I'm like, hey, that sounds great. Go do it. And so a lot of the time, it doesn't have to be my idea, but if you present me with some options, a lot of times I'm just going to pick one. And so for that general manager that goes and says, hey, we can both agree this is broken, right? Okay, well, here's some options. What do you think we should do?
Mm-hmm. I like that. Come with me to solutions to the problems. Don't ever come to me with a problem. You better have some ideas of how we're going to solve this first. I like that. Yeah, because as the GM, you got too much going on. Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you hopping on. Great conversation. Very interesting what Ford's doing. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do with your other locations with this new car buying experience. Hopefully you're a trendsetter and hopefully you, change some minds or open some minds at NADA this year. Guys, or JB, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So definitely you can find me on LinkedIn. I have a lot of content on there that I've been sharing over the last several months with this whole process, and you check out a lot of the store and that kind of stuff. So it's JB Burnett on LinkedIn. And I'll be honest with you, and I'd say this every time, you can always call me on my cell with random questions. I get all kinds of random questions from some of these podcasts that I've been doing, and it's different. And I'm so passionate about it. I'll sit here and talk to you for an hour. Don't worry about my time. If it's going to change your life, give me a shout. So it's cell phone numbers 443-942-1375.
Boom. Now that's a guy who's passionate about automotive. I love that. He'd rather just talk to you about your problems and help you walk through it. You just like to see the results. Sounds like you're like, hey man, you like to find the problem, find the solution. I love that. Well, JB, appreciate you coming on, man. And guys, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody that you know or somebody that you like. If you didn't like this episode, then share it with somebody that you don't like and let us talk their ear off.